So welcome to another part of Fates of the War, faction number 2. And this time I'm gonna go through the Matou faction. And disclaimer before I continue with this is that obviously the factions themselves will probably not be called Matou, Tosaka or Ainspan or anything like that. I just gave them the name meanwhile, and I think it sounds better than that would be Team Black, Red and Pink or something like that. And again, Team Pink would be quite cool. And of course, as I mentioned in the previous part, there is lots of things I don't know about Fate. I haven't really read it in too much depth, mainly because I don't want to spoil myself for possible shows I'm gonna watch here later on. So take whatever I say here with a big scoop of salt, and hopefully this can be something interesting. And of course, if anyone wants to use this I'm talking about here, Fate of the War, for their own projects, writing, RPs, drawing or whatever, you're free to use it. I just want to share this idea I had, and hopefully it will be to use for someone that can enjoy it. So first I will go through who the masters are, and then of course I will go in a little bit more in depth about them as well, the servants. So these are the 7 masters of Matou. Some of them you definitely recognize, some you wonder why on earth is that certain person there. As well, there's a couple of random faces. Just in the Tosaka faction I fill out with a couple of characters I would like to see. Maybe not exactly like these characters, but just a little bit of something, and not to make it too kind of easy to guess, I guess. But yes, we of course gonna start off with Sakura here. That is crazy. And no, not maybe two-way bunkers, but when you have been influenced from Sorkin for quite a long, as well have the corrupt piece of the Grail in you, let us say her mental stability have been kind of deterrent over the years. And when she became the Grand Master, Sorkin had no other options than put all his work and training and education into Sakura, because Shinji is pretty much worthless. And that is breaking a tradition Sorkin of course doesn't want to break, but then again, he see it like, if Sakura can win this and all of that, this war, then it's maybe worth to put all of these things. And Sorkin appears as first as the Grand Master, appearing like, you know, the talkative figure and all of that, he's old man, weirdo, and all of that. However, in the background is Sakura, the real deal. And Sakura, of course, have become quite mean-spirited. Imagine pretty much Shinji, how Shinji is in Fates Unite and all of that, but put in Sakura instead. And probably a bit worse, because she's influenced under so many awful things. Even if her core still have that pure little Sakura as we know and love, have the rest of her simply been corrupt by the Grail, by Sorkin, by all of this bullshit. And she become quite unstable and Oj då. Sorry for that, but Chun-Li was about to puke on my computer, and I really don't want that to happen. But yes, continuing with this is that Sakura's goal is pretty much in, how are we gonna say, in the dark, because she is pretty much in split. The little part of her that still have the humanity, that want this to end, that doesn't want these horrible things that happen to her. And then of course we have the big ass darkness that is literally like fucking her over, and then trying to do whatever it want to do. So yeah, it's nothing really elaborated much about her. It's more about the inner struggle she really gonna suffer through this. And her servant is the Berserker Aurgelmir. You might scratch your head a little bit about who's that. Maybe that sounds familiar. You probably know him by another name, Ymir. And Ymir slash Aurgelmir, Aurgelmir is one of few names he had, is known as the very first being in the Norse mythology. In the Norse mythology, Ymir was the very first created being that existed in the void. And the gods, Odin, Vili and Ve, or whatever they were called, slayed him and made the world upon his flesh. His blood became the rivers, his skull became the sky, his brain became the clouds. Quite messed up actually. And here he is taking form of a berserker that is kind of already mad. So he doesn't even have a madness enhancement, because he doesn't need that. He's already so powerful. And I do know that gods and things like that can't really be summoned in Fate, but I don't consider it because nothing in actually mythology mentioned Ymir as a god, though he is a frost giant. So I am a little bit on the fence about this, but I still thought it would be really, really awesome to see him appearing like that. And while he would, of course, be kind of crazy and all that, he's still quite in control. He's not going full bonkers like Heracles or Lancelot Berserker. He's a bit more in control like that. And his noble phantasm would be something that is called Ginnungagap. I can barely pronounce it either. And it is a special thing I thought that kind of fits, because when the gods created the world, they used, as I mentioned, they used his body and all of that, because they pulled him into this void that is called the Ginnungagap, where his body became the world as we know it, so to say, in Old Norse. And I thought his MP is that he pulled people into that world, into his world where he pretty much is a god, where he rules, because his body, his entire being is the world. And now I was thinking on how is this gonna be used, can you fight with this? I haven't really thought too much about it yet. One idea I had is that while it appears like you are pulled in for just 1 second and then thrown out, is that you're stuck in this world in a outside the dimension, where, for example, imagine that you are a master or you are a servant that gets sucked into this world. Then you're stuck there for 100 years. You don't age, you don't die. You just exist there. And while it doesn't sound so bad, but imagine doing that, nothing to do. You can't do anything because you can't interact with anything. He can't kill you, but you can't kill him either. And you're stuck there for 100 years. And when that 100 years is over, you're thrown back. For them, it appears like that. You're about poof, poof, you're in and out. But imagine how broken a person would be from that. So that it could be quite OP and all that, of course. But I just thrown that out. That would be quite a different way of crushing someone, rather than, you know, like Alexander, well, Iskander, hey, you hit it, or something like that. Rather, this is more than psychological crush. And of course, it could be changed and do something different. It would, of course, be a reality marble kind of magic, which is kind of insane. But yes, that is for now of Sakura and Aurgelmir, and we're gonna jump over to the next one. What is it now, cat? Oh, it's another cat. Shanley, why do you run after it? And next up is Shinji Matou. And for once, he's actually not an asshole. Not at least more than a normal person would be. And that is because he haven't got into the influence of Sorkin as much he has in Fates the Night and all of these parts. Instead, he pretty much been ignored. And he doesn't barely know much about magic at all. He did read a bit, of course, as young. But when Sakura became the Grandmaster, became the Chosen, Sorkin put all the efforts in her and left Shinji by his own device. In school, he's pretty popular, you know. He have lots of friends. He likes to help. I mean, in a way, you can actually say that he's the Sakura of Fates the Night. And he forced to become a master because Sakura pretty much just loved to make you suffer like that. And I guess in a way he deserves it from the consider all the other iterations of Fate. But still though, what he go through here is quite cruel, and he's forced into this war even if he doesn't want to. He don't want anything with it. He don't want anything with magic. He want to have a normal life, just have a nice life and all of that. But he's forceful into this, and his server. Oh gosh, yeah, my brain is. But his for fuck's sake. And his servant is Ryder, and his name is Saladin. I'm honestly surprised I haven't seen Saladin in the Fate Grand Order or anything like that. At least what I do know, I haven't seen all the servants yet. But Saladin is well known for being the Muslim military campaign leader against Richard Lionheart under the Third Crusade. And also this guy, he was, when his empire stretched wait, it was pretty fucking big. This guy was a really strong war leader, and I thought it could be quite an interesting little thing between Saladin and Shinji, because Saladin, of course, he's headstrong, very proud and powerful leader. He would affect Shinji to make him realize his own strengths and his own weaknesses, how he can overcome them. Pretty much as how Iskander and Weaver are in Fate Zero, would Shinji and Saladin be quite a bit here in Fate of the War. And as for Noble Phantasm, I haven't really thought so much about it yet. It was just actually recently I decided on Saladin as a servant for Shinji and all of that. Though one fun fact is that Saladin did actually fight against Assassin, aka the Old Man on the Mountain. He had a campaign against them. I haven't read too much about it. I just was skimming through things a little bit a while back ago and saw that, and I realized, like, in the afterside, like, wait, he talk about the Hassan. So that is Ryder and Shinji, and we're gonna jump to the next one, which is Sojiro Kozuki. Yes, he is part of this war. Pretty much in a similar way as in the previous iteration of Fate's Night, where he pretty much accidentally got into this, because I mean, he had obviously no reasons to be part of this war and all of that. And in a way that makes Kozuki kind of scary, because as we know, he had this very stone face and doesn't really show any emotions or anything like that. We don't know, no one really knows about it. They only know that he's a very capable fighter, and he became master of Assassin, which is Medea. Yes, you might be like, Narni? What are you making now, Lano? You crazy. And I probably am crazy, right, Bacon? But there is a reason for that, is that Medea, in many of her stories, she did do lots of things that you would definitely account for being an assassin. Instigated that lots of murders and things like that. It was a pretty messed up time. I don't really blame her. Then again, everyone were crazos in that time. Another reason is that, for example, we have Semiramis from Fate Apocrypha that was assassin, but more actually a caster, because she didn't really do so many assassin things, even if she had a poison and all that. But so did Medea, and hence I thought she would be actually nice. And would it be fun to see her as an assassin? How she would, well, her design would be, of course, it would probably be a little bit different. And yeah, still though, I thought that because honestly, in Fate's Night, Kozuki and Medea, that was heartbreaking. Seriously, I really liked it, and that was where I felt like I really want this to be. So yeah, don't take that from me. And next up we have Ise Ryudo, and you will be like, seriously, Lano, no, where did you pull that shit out of your ass? And I'm gonna say to you, I have a big ass. I can pull lots of shit out. Okay, this you don't need to know that. So Ise is actually an old friend of Shinji. Pretty much Shinji replaced a bit like Shiro is friend with Ise in the old Fate's Day Night and all of that. And Ise became dragged into this because it was shown that he had latent magic circuits within him. And he became chosen as a master, mainly actually because Sakura kind of threatened him that if you don't join us in my cause, I'm gonna fuck your place over. And he's not entirely sure if they will do that or not. But what they do now is actually they're using Ryudo Temple as their base, for now at least. And of course, everyone that has been living there need to be moved out. And to spare the place as well, the people there, Ise is forced to join this war. And of course, he still have a very hard time to believe anything of this, what's happening, what's going on, because he of course have not had any knowledge about magic. So he is in quite the same situation as Shinji. However, Shinji have a bit of knowledge at least, even if he doesn't know too much. And he also do this to support Shinji, because he realized that if he doesn't do as Sakura says, Shinji most likely will die, he will die, his family will die, the temple will die, lots of things will die, and he feel a commitment to do at least what he can to help and protect these people. And he still have quite doubts about it, but he would try to do his best. And he is the master of Rider. No, he's not. That was the other guy. He is the master of Archer. That was not right. Caster. There we go. Oh my god. Originally, Issei was in my first script. Issei was the master of Caster, and then he was master of Archer, and then he was master of Rider, and then Caster again. I've been throwing around things here quite a lot, but yes, and in a way he's actually quite happy for this, because this means that he summoned someone he never thought he would ever see. Of course, he heard lots about him because he kind of following his words of meaning, so to say. And his servant is Caster Gautama Buddha. And before you say like, what, a god? No, Gautama Buddha is not God. He is however, he was one of the, if not the founder of Buddhism. And now I'm not sure if it would work, because considering how religious figures, things like that, doesn't seem to work really well. But I thought it would be quite interesting in itself with Gautama as a servant. And of course I would consider him quite weak compared to many other of the servants and all of that, considering that Issei is not a very powerful mage himself. However, Gautama is compensating that he is naturally very strong, but even though his power is weakened, he's still a very strong and very calm and fitting servant to Issei. And I haven't really got into much about like Gautama's NP would be. I would assume it would be something maybe with his scripts, or because he had lots of artifacts as well. Not unfamiliar, not too unfamiliar. I mean, considering Gilgamesh and all of that, though. Of course, not in that kind of grand scale. But still, though, I thought it would be quite an interesting little thing, and I would actually love to see how Gautama Buddha would be. And of course, it could be replaced by another wandering monk or something like that, like Sang and all that, because I thought that first of all fits kind of well with Issei, because you know. But I for now picked Gautama Buddha, so we'll see about that. And left is 3 characters that I added myself that I wanted to just add because I wanted to give some new faces, so we don't have only the same faces everywhere every time. And the first one is Jack Brown, and he is an American mercenary that was paid to join this war, joining Matou, a very strong mage, maybe obviously not the most powerful, but he is not afraid of doing dirty works. And Kiritsugu did know this guy, and like Kiritsugu, he would go the extra mile to take down his target. However, while Kiritsugu had this mentality that he wanted to save, if he could sacrifice the few to save the many, he would do that. Jack Brown, however, if it's money involved, he go for the money. He doesn't care how many he kills and all of that. And he could easily kill 20 people to just kill one target. And that is why he's considered so freakishly dangerous, because he doesn't have any sort of morally breaks or anything like that. He gonna go and do it. He gonna fucking kill everything if he gets to do it, as long as there's money involved, because for some reason he have a very deep bond with money. And his servant is Lancer, Vercingetorix, that was a Gaul warrior, a chieftain that united all the Gauls, well, not maybe all of them. Gaul is the old France before it became that, and stood up, made a revolt against the Roman Empire. He was a really big badass, and he fought against Julius Caesar, and he actually managed to beat Julius Caesar first time. However, Caesar managed to divide and subjugate parts of the army of Vercingetorix, and at the last battle would Vercingetorix give up to spare as many of his men as possible. And he would, after years in prison, be going through a parade before he was strangled to death as execution. And yeah, that's kind of nasty. But yes, I for a long time have wanted to see him as a servant, and when I've been reading up about him even more after quite a while ago, I've been so really, I felt like, man, he needs to appear somewhere. And he will appear as Lancer in Fate of the War under Jack Brown as his master. And of course, what he would have for sort of MP, I haven't thought of that much either actually. I've been reading quite a bit about Vercingetorix, and I think in general it would be cool with something that have something to rise up against Rome. I mean, of course he would have some sort of interaction with Julius Caesar in Fate Grand Order, so to speak. Sorry for all that. I just thought it would be kind of cool to have him here, and I think he would be quite a strong hero. Even if, of course, not as strong as many other Lancers, like, say, for example, Cuauhtémoc or things like that. Do I still think he would be quite a capable... Do I think he would be quite a capable master? Quite a capable Lancer. And next up is Nephir. And she is an assassin that have been working since she was adopted into a group of assassins. Not unlike the stories of Hassan and his assassins that took in orphans and trained them and all of that, have she gone through the same and became an, well, assassin for hire. And she is very good at the job, though she doesn't feel too much about it. I mean, for her it's... She has zero empathy, quite a bit of a sociopath in that sense, that she doesn't feel anything. Though she doesn't feel enjoyment either by killing, so she doesn't go and kill because it's funny. She just do it. If you pay her to kill that person, she do it. But she doesn't go around and kill unnecessary, unlike Jack Brown, that is literally like, go really sociopathic tendency. And yes, it seems to be like many of these characters that join Matou is more of that kind of people. Then again, the corruption tends to attract corruption. And Nephir was recruited as well, because Soken knows about Nephir's master and wanted to hire the best assassin, and Nephir was the one, and she became the master of Saber. And that servant is, they may take our lives, but they never take our bacon! Ah! Yes, William Wallace, because honestly, I want to see that dude for a very long time in this. I don't understand why he never appears. But yes, William Wallace, the rebellion that stood against the British Empire. Okay, maybe not the ones. He wasn't the British Empire back then, but he stood up against the British. The man and the legend of Scotland, where the man were killed, where he shoot balls of fire out of his ass, and he's 5 meters tall, or whatever kind of ideas they got for him. And I thought that would be really, really fun, because I mean, I love the lore and history of William Wallace, and actually most characters here. I'm trying to read up as much as I possibly can, and is probably one, if not the most famous Scottish person, the Scottish legend we have here. And I would really love to see him joining here, and I think it could be quite interesting to see, considering I would like William Wallace here to be a very emotional driven person, which would be the opposite of Nephir, that is no emotion. And I think that would be quite a fun and nice contrast, that William is like, yeah, fuck yeah, we gotta do this, and Nephir is like, she doesn't really care about these things. And they're trying to find a little middle ground on all of that. I think that could be quite a fun thing, and of course, just seeing William Wallace, fuck yeah, we need him. And last but not least is Sasha Fedorov, and the Russian mage that is a bit of a freelance as well, that joined the Matou after being recruited there. She really wants to improve her house standing, getting it more known, get more powerful, of course, as most mages do want. And joining the war, the Holy Grail War, of course, gave a chance to that. And that is why she didn't hesitate to thank for this job. And also it's because she and her family have been known for quite a bit of shady work. Quite a bit, maybe. And of course that they have ties to the Matou family that originally was from Russia. And it is said, not to just make this shit up, is that Fedorov is part of a lineage that was left behind from the Matou, because the Matou took the main family, so to speak, to Japan. The son, the eldest son, the firstborn, and left the secondborn that was, you know, the mage traditions. And in right line there we have Sasha Fedorov, that is an, well, she's maybe not the most popular mage. She was in the clock tower, but her very stubbornness and refusal to accept certain people made her kind of not so popular there. And she have studied in the clock tower and then been traveling, doing lots of research before she was contacted and then joined the Matou faction. And she is a master of archer. That is a name I've tried to pronounce a couple times now, and that is Cuauhtémoc. You see how it's spelled, because it's a bit different name, but I thought this would be also a character I would love to see as a servant, because Cuauhtémoc was the last king, the last ruler of the Aztecs people before their culture and all of their the Aztecs fell. And this guy did quite a lot of badass things. I mean, he was, when the Spaniards were attacking with Cortés and all of that, most people left the town, they left the city. But he, when you have so big balls that you can't walk through the gate, he was standing there behind and fought there for years to stop them, the Spaniards, for taking over and all of that. But in the end, though, he did lose. But he did stand up against the Spaniards. And I felt like, while he wanted to be an archer in that sense that he used a bow, then again, actually most of the archers doesn't really use bows, ironically. But it would be more like, throwing spears, or maybe a sling, a sling and all of that. I think that would be quite something. And in general, I would love to have more of these, maybe not the super famous legends and all that. I think it in general will be just very cool to see what they will create. And in a way, Cuauhtémoc and Sasha would work together, because both are in that mindset that sometimes you need to do shit to make progress. Like Cuauhtémoc was doing all of this to stand, hold. He didn't give up. He like, yeah, fuck off, guys, fuck off, Cortés. And yeah, I think that would be quite something. I would love to see that. And while he's maybe like some of them, I mean, Cuauhtémoc, Vercingetorix, maybe not. They maybe not be the biggest names, the biggest legends, and honestly, most of them probably aren't. But I still think they are people that definitely deserve their own, that they have their own legends, that deserve to be servants and be part of this. And as major plots, I mean, they are, most of them in this group is driven by either money or simply fear. Fear, Shinji and Issei that follow him because they don't have other options. They do it to protect each other and others. Then we have like Nefer, Jack and Sasha, that is much about money, but there is also a little bit of other things there. And then we have Kosuke, that no one really knows why he's there. He's just there. And being Kosuke, not Suzuki, Kosuke. And I think it would be quite interesting, because while Sakura is so driven and so unstable, is she not a complete monster in that sense that she would kill anyone at random, because she knows that every one of these do have value, because she would lose masters and servants most of all if they just went and die. So while she can appear cruel, the little nice part that still exists within her can be something that appears that she tried to help them as well, even especially her brother Shinji. Though of course, when you have like madness enhancement upon yourself, you don't really have the control too much, even if you want to. And that is why Sorkin, even if he's not a master or have any servants, he mostly appears as the Grandmaster in the beginning, because Sakura have still struggled to control over this madness and this power, and he appear and become a little bit of the face out. Later on he will fall back. Most likely that Sakura kills him, because fuck that old man, fuck that nasty piece of shit. And yeah, so that is my idea for now of Fate Total War, the Matou faction. And hopefully it can be something interesting. I mean, I was really happy to read all the comments from the previous one. All the good and all the bad things that you thought about it. And hopefully this can maybe inspires other people to create something like this. And of course, I'm just happy to do this kind of random thing. So thank you for watching. See you later on. Have a continued super great day.